Like, it's kind of hard to expand on it on Instagram because you're limited on what you can actually post and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I can't really mention a lot of the stuff I did in the past. Like, I used to be a straight up legit criminal. Like, I am open about that now. I was working. I was never a member, nothing like that. I was just an associate, but I was working for them, doing criminal crap.
Yeah.
And a very bad person who was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Like, I still have scars on my legs from heroin use. Like, I was a very bad person, and now I'm in this point where I'm doing everything legally for the most part. Doing everything legally. I have my business. I got my relationships are good. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing drugs. I do use cannabis.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's a story because I already know it's helped people. I was telling Colin last night that I've gotten messages from people saying, "Hey, just coming to your page reminds me that I gotta try. Like, even though it's going to be difficult to do something, I have to attempt it." And then the next thing I know, they're successful, and they're like, "Holy crap! How did I do this? Oh, I tried." You know.
Right. And it
So
doesn't
I know it already
take,
has helped some people.
yeah, and it doesn't take like many small wins for them to start to build up into big ones, but when you've been beaten down for long enough, it's a deterrent. To try at all is a deterrent, and so to
Hmm.
try and get any little win at all, but when you start doing that, when you actually put the effort in and start to make tiny bits of progress, it starts to cascade and build into something much bigger, and it's way easier to hold on to and to like use that as inspiration to continue forward, and I think that
Yeah.
weight loss in general, but obviously especially large amount of weight loss, like a beautiful metaphor for that particular thing, because it's quite literally, the weight is literally falling off. That's how
Yeah.
it works. The harder you try, the more you'll work out, the more weight you're going to lose, the better you're going to feel. Like, it's a perfect
Hmm.
metaphor for that. I think it's a really
Well,
interesting. Yeah.
that's actually how I came up with the motto of try itself, because I saw like Nike say, just do it. And I was such a depressed person. I don't know if you guys know, but I used to cut. I literally have scars all over my arms, if you can see
Okay.
them, from
Oh yeah.
cutting so much because I hated myself.
Yeah.
Like, legit wanted to die, but was too much of a coward to pull the trigger type thing. And I got to this point where when I was started to work out just by walking, the first time I worked out, I did a quarter mile and had to turn around and go home.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this. My back was killing me. I had learned that I broke my back a year and a half before, or 2 years before, and I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to work out. I don't care anymore. And forced myself to go on a walk. And I got to this point where it was like, just do it is too big of a thing. It's too big of a statement. I have to just do something small, something that kind of ease your way into it. And it's like, hey, you don't have to do it every time. You have to just try to do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't accomplish it, it's okay. Go out and do the walk. And that's how it started. And I promised myself, you're just going to try. There's days I fail. There's days I go to the gym and I'm like, I'm going to get an hour and this is it. 15 minutes in, I'm like, I can't. It's too much.
And I do think that's really interesting, because I'm sure I've never thought very much, obviously, about the Nike logo or their slogan before.
Yeah.
But obviously, in the term "just do it," there is an insinuation of accomplishment. You're going to do a thing. You're doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost counter to, in my, and I think most people's understanding of success. Like, success is not built in your accomplishments. It's built in your failures. That's where you learn to succeed. That's where your opportunities and your personality and your drive is built at, is in your failures. So I almost think that just try is a better emblem of that, of like the everyday person, because you're not going to succeed every time, and it's unreasonable, and you don't want to succeed every time. That's a bad way to live your life, is to always be winning.
You don't learn.
Yes.
You don't learn.
Precisely. Yeah.
And then the first time you're ever met with failure, it's crushing, because you're just so used to winning all the time and
Right.
getting things done correctly the right time. And you can only learn from your failures, and if you're never failing, then you're not learning any of those lessons. And when
Yeah.
it does come, it's going to hit you like a fucking Mack truck.
Yeah,
Probably
and
put
that's
you
why
back
it's
down the hole.
the triangle, like the philosophy behind it, because we all have issues. I'm sure you guys face your daily life issues with family, with your health, with work, whatever it is. We're all going to have those issues. The triangle for me and how I started it was, I'm going to try. And then when I am approached by an issue of life, whether it be a bill I can't pay or whatever, because when I first started this, I had no money. I was a dog trainer. Like, that was it. You don't make a lot of money doing that.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, Anytime an issue presents itself to me, I have to look at it from a different angle. This issue could be whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from an angle that you can dominate it, that you can beat it or go around it. You know, like Marcus Aurelius talks about, the obstacle is the way. It's like, look at the obstacle. Stop trying to avoid it. Because that was me. As a drug addict, I didn't want to face anything. I just wanted to be high, period. I wanted to take my pills, drink my liquor, do my coke, and because every drug there is, I've done except for meth, like every single one.
Yeah.
And I just got to the point where it's like, these aren't fixing the problems. You still have the problems. Now you're just withdrawing too.
You're just disassociating.
And now you feel like crap. Yeah. Exactly. So I kind of just started, look at the obstacle that's in your way, look at how you can get around it, how you can beat it, how you can overcome it, and try for that. Just keep going. And you're going to fail. On Monday and Tuesday, you're going to fail. But on Wednesday, you're going to get a little win.
Yeah.
Thursday, you'll fail again. But you try again on Friday, and then you're going to get a big win. Like, that's how it's been for me over the last, 6 years, And
I like the angle aspect of it, because it adds another layer for me of, like, depending on your situation, your circumstance, you might not be able to accomplish something the same way that somebody else did. You're going to have to do it from a different position because of whatever, because you're overweight, or because you're a fucking drug addict, or because whatever, XYZ, you just won't be able to do it the same way that somebody else did. You just have to hit it from a different angle, and then you'll be good to go,
Yeah, you got to find your angle.
Yes. And
that's what it's about.
I have got to be the fourth person in the last 7 days who has used that term of, like, or a variation of, you have to do what works for you, And I don't know why it is that this week in particular that's been happening, but it's been different aspects of my life that I've been discussing. And like, the first one was somebody that I haven't spoke to in years reached out to me about, like, a gun recommendation for, like, a gun belt. It's like, what gun belt should I get, right? And so we had just a long conversation about just, like, tactical stuff and gun things. And, like, I was like, at the end, I learned through all this gun stuff that you need to do what works for you. Like, as long as what you're doing is safe, just do what works for you. And that's what's gonna, don't anybody else tell you, like, this is the right way to do it, or this is how the Marines do it. Like, you need to do whatever's gonna work for you, and you're gonna be good to go. And I don't remember who else I was talking to, but the same fucking concept over and over again. So I find that so interesting, that in different topics every single time, that's the key. It's just whatever works for you, that's the way to go. Fucking talking to Larry last night, he's like, they're talking about this business, and he's like, whatever works for you guys, like, that's what you need to be doing, So 4 people in a week, because it was also Brian. That was who the other person was Brian when he was here. So that's so weird, and that's so interesting.
How does your life
especially with diet and exercise
like that?
It does happen like that, doesn't it? I'm like, damn, I talked to 5 people about that. Like, this. Yes, it always seems to happen in circles like that. Yeah. I'm gonna hang on to that. I really appreciate that. That's where you came from with this. It's just like, whatever works for you.
Well, that's like, because I get asked all the time, when you've lost over 200 pounds, people are like, what? How do you lose? How do you lose that much weight? The question for me is, how do you get so big that you need to lose that much weight?
Right.
You're unhappy, Well, it comes down to, like, you have to find out what works for you. Like you said, for me, it's 70 carbohydrates a day. I can have those carbs in sugar. I can have it in a candy bar if I want. I can have it in soda, but that's all I'm allowed. I can have it in any form, but that's it. Other than that, it's meat and vegetables. And lately, it's been more meat. I'm trying to do a little bit kind of carnivore thing, but it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a pretty meat dominant person, and I have found that I need fruit or something else mixed in there, because my shits are terrible. Like, my stomach just is too fucked up if I don't have other stuff in there, So I appreciate what people are saying. Like, that's all well and good, but, like, I have horrible IBS. If I don't have some type of roughage and, like, fiber, I am fucking done. I am destroyed. Yeah. So I appreciate what they're doing. I think it's a great idea, but I think for a lot of people, especially if you're coming from a place of stomach issues, your stomach might be really fucked up. You probably need more than just meat if you're going to feel comfortable. So that's just me. But let's talk about the way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, that's a part of finding what works for you.
Precisely. Find what works for you. Hitting fruit every day. I really don't fuck with vegetables that much, but just making sure that I'm getting fruit in, that this is good. This is a happy medium for me to, like, be dominantly, protein, hit some rice and stuff on the side, and then fruit all the time. But so let's talk about your weight loss thing really quick, right? Because this is part of what brought us together. Was obviously you started watching the show, and then we began talking to you in the comments, and we were following you on Instagram and just getting to learn more about you. So you said you've lost over 200 pounds, right?
Yeah, 220.
220 pounds. So Where do I even start? I think that you asked the best question, right? How do you get to a point where you need to lose that much weight? Were you overweight your entire life, or was it something that you came to in adulthood? Is it how do you get to that point?
It's kind of a dark story, but it's the reality of my life.
That's what this
At
show is
10
all
years
about.
old, yeah, at 10 years old, they used to call me stick boy. I was very thin, rail thin, and tall. At 10 years old, I was raped by a neighbor male. And when that happened, I literally just shut down. I was getting ready to hit puberty. I hit puberty at 11, so I was young on top of that. And it shut me down. I didn't want to deal with emotion, period. Food was my crutch, and that later led to drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
So, how do I put this? When you're raped, I was not sexually assaulted. I was held down with a knife to my throat. And like I said, it's dark, but it's the reality of my life. When that happens to you, you don't want anyone to touch you. And I could vividly remember at 10 years old thinking, who is somebody nobody wants to touch? Fat people. Nobody wants to touch fat. Everyone hates fat people because this is back in 95,
Yeah,
96.
how old are you?
I'm 37. I'll be
Okay.
38 in July. So this was literally 96. It was the
Finally,
same year
somebody
Tupac
my
died,
age.
actually. Yeah. So I got to this point where I didn't want to be wanted. I didn't want people to touch me. I didn't care about having a girlfriend or friends in general because people are evil. That's what people do. They hurt children. So that happened at 10. And I had a really troubled childhood as well. My father was abusive. My mother was abusive. But that's just part of being, how to put this? It's abusive in today's standards.
Okay.
If you were to look at how I was raised today, they'd be like, oh my God, they're being abusive to the kids. Where it was, now that I look back, it's more of, no, they were instilling discipline. Like things that kids need, they're limitations that kids need. Because I was originally one of 6 kids, 5 boys and 1 girl in a 3-bedroom house. Like I remember sharing beds with my siblings, my brothers. We had bunk beds where there were 2 of us per bed.
Yeah.
And some nights I slept on the floor. So there was that kind of stuff as well. But getting back to, I had that rape happen to me. Then I had one of my mom's family friends who was a female sexually assault me at 11 years old. And that really sent me down this path of fuck people, excuse my language, but fuck people. I don't want people around me. I don't care. I want to be alone. And what kept me alone was eating. Just kept eating. I did play sports and stuff in high school, but I was always at the back of the line trying to I'm playing, but not really attempting giving it my best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got very isolated in my life. I didn't want to hang out with people. I had friends, but it was always, hey, they'd ask me, do you want to come over and spend the night? No. I'll hang out with you at school. That's it. And then when I'm going to go home and eat, that's it. I wouldn't even eat in front of people at school because I knew what I was doing was shameful. But I isolated myself.
Right.
I didn't want people around. I didn't want to be touched. That was the main thing. Even to this day, I struggle with letting people touch me. I have to be I need to know you. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to randomly hug somebody.
Gotcha.
Not who I am.
You know, when you meet someone and oh, I'm a hugger, and they go into
I'm not.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's the good thing about looking the way I do. I look very intimidating to people.
Yeah.
So most people aren't huggers when they first meet me. They're just oh, this guy looks scary. I'm the nicest dude ever, but.
Right. Do you think that's part of a defense mechanism that you have built up now still to deal with that? Or is this...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How do I put this? It's a struggle to fight those feelings of wanting to be isolated.
Yeah.
My girlfriend now, she's pulled me out of that. Hey, realize that not everyone's like this. Not everyone is only trying to take something from you.
Yeah.
Because that was my life experience is people want to use you for their own gain, whether it's a sexual favor to make themselves feel better, or they would want to use me for attention, or I was the punching bag for the friend group, the fat guy that got made fun of. Because the way I used to look before I had the beard and everything, I looked like Fat Bastard from Goldmember or whatever the Austin Powers movie.
Yeah, Goldmember.
Yep.
Yeah, literally, I look like him. They used to call me Fat Bastard because I look like the dude. I'm not. I am Scottish too, so it just comes out.
Yeah.
So but I was always everyone's punching bag, and I would just take it, and I would repress it and hold on to it, and then I'd go home and eat, and eat, and eat, and eat, and then when I was in high school, I was 420 pounds in my senior year. In high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I was the big massive dude. I remember my freshman year of high school when I walked into to sign up for football, the coach stopped me and he goes, "I got my nose tackle." Like, that's how big I was.
Right.
He's like, "I know what I'm where exactly where I'm putting your big ass." So
Shit.
that's what I was. Anyways, going back to it was traumatic experiences. Kind of another part of that story that made me gain weight was so I'm Hispanic as well. I don't look it, but my last name is Garcia. My father was brown hair. Yeah,
Me
same
too, dog. Me too.
exactly. But and nobody gets that. They're like, "What? You're Hispanic? That doesn't make any sense."
We
I'm like,
present
"Yes,
as white, Kevin. It's not good enough for them.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's the appearance of white."
Yeah.
So, but the problem with us is we had the KKK live across the street. This is when I lived in Merced, California.
Okay.
The head of the KKK literally lived across the street from us. So we had to fight them all the time. We were called half breeds and everything else because my father is Hispanic
Because you
and
were Mexican
my
enough for
mother's white.
them, but not for anybody else.
Exactly. Exactly. They fall
That's
in between
awesome.
both cracks.
That is
So,
awesome.
Oh,
but
jeez.
so I went through that kind of bullying and stuff, and that's how you go through that much trauma and bullying and people just putting you down, kind of. You separate yourself from people, and isolation is terrible for human beings. It
Yeah.
just is, especially if you're a teenager.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I would eat. I mean, I used to carry in high school and for a few years after high school, I would carry a 2 liter of Mountain Dew with me. And I would just, no, I didn't need a cup. I would just drink
Just
off the
out of
2
the
liter.
2 liter.
Yeah. I mean, there's pictures somewhere on the internet, like on an old MySpace account or something that has like, I'm laying on a bed with a 2 liter and a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Like, cause I didn't care. I had no self-respect. I had no, what's the word? I had no love for like myself, for
Yeah.
my family, even for my last name, for my status. There was nothing. I didn't care. And then it got so I was around 420 in high school, and then after high school is when I got to 477 was my highest weight.
Okay.
I had to actually, this is a really interesting piece, is I couldn't even use a normal scale to weigh myself.
Right.
So yeah, at the time my parents were running a food pantry through our church. They had the food industrial scales. I
Yes.
had to weigh myself on one of those just to find out my weight.
I have heard about
That's
people
how big I
going
was.
to like recycling centers and stuff like that for the same deal
Yes.
because they'll go to the doctor and they're like 350 is the highest that our scale goes.
Yep.
Like, we don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got up to that was, like I said, it was around 420. And then in 2007, my nephew died. He was 47 days old. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, so in a 3-year span, it was 2005, my grandmother died in October. 2006, my grandfather died in October. 2007, my nephew died in October. So it was a 3-year span. And that's when I got into the drugs. And
How
I
old were
was
you then?
21 or 22. And I had no experience really with drugs before that. I mean, food was my drug. But I had to have a surgery that went bad back in 2005 for reoccurring perirectal abscesses, it's extremely disgusting, but it's a reality of what I had to go through for about 15 years of my life. So I had a tear in my rectum that caused abscesses to form that the doctors would have to go in and cut and remove the abscess. The problem with those is you have to leave the wound open.
Ooh.
And it has to fill in with scar tissue, and it's right next to your asshole. Very painful spot. So for about 5 years, I went through having to have these surgeries every month, over and over and
No
over.
fucking shit.
So, it gets worse. So I was obviously being given
I'm sorry,
opiate.
let me pause you. Is that from like,
Yeah.
that from shitting? Is it just from like being so big and like, how does that happen?
So I know the moment it happened. It happened at my high school graduation ceremony. I felt the tear.
God.
Literally, as soon as I graduated high school. So I had a
Oh.
friend in high school named Alex Trevino, and the day before graduation, his 4-year-old brother drowned in a canal here, and it was in the Central Valley at the time. He had drowned. So when they brought Alex on stage, all of his friends and stuff were like, "Hey, get up and cheer for him and scream and go crazy."
Yeah.
I jumped up at 420 pounds and started, going crazy. And then when I sat back down, I was like, "Oh, something's wrong." And because I'm a tough guy, I didn't go to the doctor and get it checked. And it built up to a point that it got into an abscess that almost killed me. I had to be rushed to the hospital. I had a surgery done while I was awake with no anesthetic. Put it
because
that
it
way.
just
Like,
needed to be done.
yeah, well, I went to my
Wow.
regular doctor, and he was like, "Oh, you have an abscess. We have to drain it." So he laid me on my stomach. Had a nurse literally they're having to hold my ass open. He goes to numb me, and it was so dense that the Novocaine came back out. And he goes, "I have to do this anyway. Like, I can't do anything about it." I said, "Okay." He cuts it. It drains out, and I'm like sitting there screaming. The room's starting to go black because I'm just screaming in so much pain. He goes, "I have bad news." I go, "What?" He goes, "There's another one behind it."
Oh.
He then stuck his hand into my body to try to pop it and couldn't. That's when they rushed me to the hospital. And they were like, "We can't do this in the office. You have to go get
Because we're
major
just in a
surgery
regular
done."
doctor's office. Oh
Dude.
my
Yes.
God,
Oh, it
Kevin.
gets worse. This story is way worse than that, brother.
God, I'm glad we did this today.
Yeah.
I was
So
having a really terrible day. I'm really glad that we did this today. Jesus fucking Christ.
That's why I tell people, if people hear my story, they'll realize their life's not so bad. I'm telling you, your life is not so bad. All right. So go to the hospital. The doctor, they send me to a general surgeon. He does the wrong surgery. He was supposed to fix the fistula. He didn't. He only cleared up the abscess. So that's why from 2005 to 2008 or so, I had to have a surgery every month because the abscesses kept coming back caused by the fistula that he didn't fix. So I kept having these surgeries, not knowing what's going on. Started to take the drugs and everything to deal with the pain of all that. And then my nephew died, took more and more drugs. Then I was doing doctor shopping and going to different doctors. So long
that's
story
right in the
short,
prime time of like pills and all that stuff. Just pill
yes.
mills and
Mm-hmm.
wow.
They would
Dude.
give you anything you wanted. You could
Right.
literally walk in and be like, "I want 500 or Vicodin." Okay. And they would do it.
And California
Like,
is one of
that's-
the worst places. Like I think Florida might be the only place that was worse than California as far
Yeah,
as
pretty
how
much.
free it was to get pills and stuff like that.
And they never told us how dangerous they were. I
Right.
never once had a doctor sit down and say, "This is basically heroin."
Right.
No one ever told me that. I was like, "Oh, it's a medication. It's from a doctor. What are you talking about?"
That's
It's
when I
totally
was a
fine.
kid,
So-
we at least knew, like we were still doing it, and you could still get them. Like it was still easy to get them, but we at least knew like this is, morphine, but not morphine anymore. Like this, like we knew we had a concept of what the drugs were that we were taking, but it was still very easy to get. Like it wasn't any harder to get. You just knew what it was.
Yeah, we get like in growing up, our generation, it was like, no, you just whatever the doctor said to take, you just take. And there was no questions about it. There was no concern about side effects.
The doctor
nothing.
knows best. That's
exactly.
it.
Come to
And
find
that's
out.
so. Anyways, had that bunch of those health issues. Was given access to the pills, and I took them like they were candy. Like literally, there was at one point in my journey that this is later on, but I went through 310 milligram Norcos in 2.5 days. I took 56 10 milligram pills at one dose. It took me handfuls at a time.
Right.
I took that in the morning. In the afternoon, I took another 56. The next morning, I took another 56. Like literally went through them that quick.
Which
That's how
cannot be
that's
helping
the
your
end of the
asshole.
addiction.
I
don't know how I'm alive.
That cannot be helping your asshole though.
No,
That cannot be helping the
No.
asshole. That is.
it was
crazy.
just for here. It was just getting high. That's all that was. But the reason I started to abuse them is after that 3 years of having a surgery every month, I went in to get another surgery that made a track for the abscesses to drain out of so that I could cut and drain them myself at home. And that's what I did. So
How
the
long
doctors
did you do
tell
that
me
for?
5 years.
Oh my!
Every
Jeez.
2 weeks, I'd get a razor blade. I have to clean it and sterilize the area and all that. And I couldn't see it, so I'd have to put gloves on and feel with my hand where the opening is at, where there was a skin flap, and then cut it and push on it and let it drain out every 2 weeks.
God.
So when you're in that much pain and you're constantly doing surgery on yourself, you're just going to take pills. I didn't think anything was wrong with it until it got to the point that I realized I'm going to 3 different doctors to get pills
Right.
because I'm using so much of them. And it took me 6 years of abusing pills to realize that I'm abusing them for emotional reasons, not physical. Like, because I kept lying to myself. Oh, it's just because of the pain.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking 10 Norco because I'm in pain. No,
Right.
you're not. You don't need that much.
Right. It's
kind of a
because it
thing.
makes you feel nothing when you take these, not just your
Exactly.
body. You feel nothing.
And when you have to do surgery on yourself with X-Acto knives, because I didn't have scalpels,
Right.
you will lie to yourself and say, that's the reason I'm doing it. Nobody knows. Nobody can understand how much pain I'm in.
Right, yeah. Which is from the outside, it's certainly a fucking good argument. I'm not cutting my asshole open every month, so I don't. Who am I to say that you don't need 10 fucking Oxycontin every day to make that feel better? That's crazy.
And that's what people they don't get, that a lot of my addiction side was put on by doctors because nobody really warned me. Seriously, I remember being handed bottles, like prescriptions for 360 Norco, and no one happened to tell me, hey, you should be careful with this.
Right.
I'm 23 years old.
Oh.
Like, hey, you might want to warn somebody that this is heroin, which is why eventually down the line, I did start doing heroin because I couldn't get the pills anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I gained the weight and got onto the drugs. As my nephew died, I was going through a major health issues where I'm doing surgery on myself. And then because I'm doing surgery on myself, I don't have friends. I mean, and put it this way. I had friends, but you start to lose them when every 2 weeks you're having to tell them, I can't hang out. I don't want to go out with you. I can't because I'm having to do surgery.
Right.
And then for 2-3 days afterwards, I'm having to keep the area clean and everything till it closes up again. And it controlled my life. So because of I became even more isolated. I started taking more pills, and then the alcohol started to get introduced little by little. So that's how I got to that size. Is I was eating all the time. I mean, just stuffing my face. I couldn't work, so I was living with my parents at the time, and just eating and doing drugs because I had no life outside of that.
What was your parents like? How much did they know about the level of drug abuse that you were doing? Because I'm sure they knew about the medical procedures you were having to do.
Yeah.
But they didn't know about the addiction to drugs.
No, they had no clue. I hid it very well.
Yeah.
Even to the point that when I got married, my now ex-wife didn't know I was abusing them.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was a hustler like I am now.
Right.
So I would always have to sell some off and then buy some other ones. And then I was always a shell game, keeping them guessing how many I actually had so they could never know how many I actually took.
Right. And if they're not in the pill world, then they don't know. They're just listening to what you're saying. So what about with the weight gain? Did your parents do anything? Like, did they ever try and intervene? Did they mention anything at all when you're gaining weight? Are your parents also large? Are they like, what's the family status of?
Yeah, that's a little bit. There's two stories there. My mother was extremely overweight. My father was not.
Okay.
So they always say, like, Portuguese men love fat white women. They really do. Like, they really do. I'm not trying to be mean. They just do.
Awesome.
Well, so my mother was very, she's a narcissist, but she was very like, oh, it's okay. It's no big deal. It's okay that he's eating and getting. But my father literally would call me fat ass. So I had one person saying this is okay, the other person making fun of him.
Your dad identifies
which isn't good for a kid,
but doesn't know. It seems to not know what to do about it, like how to deal with
it.
Because also his wife is overweight. So how can he like really critique you and try and get you to not be overweight when his wife is overweight? She's going to probably take that personally,
Yeah.
That is a super interesting dynamic.
Very much so.
Yeah, it was very hard to navigate because I'm sitting here trying to make my mom happy. We want to be loved by both your parents.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make my mom happy, but I want my dad to be proud of me as well.
Right.
And how do I do that? Well, you have to lose the weight. Well, I can't lose the weight because my mom's like, here, eat more. You're okay.
Yeah.
There's no problem with this. So I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like I have memories. I used to have to shop at the Big and Tall stores.
Yeah.
So at 13 years old, I was already having to shop at Big and Tall. I'm 6'2", which isn't very tall, but I'm very large framed. So I've always had this frame. And I can remember this time. So my father was yelling at me in the store. He said, pull the pants up, you fat ass. And I still remember it in my head because I was wearing my pants low and it was showing the bottom of my belly.
Yeah.
And he kept telling me to put it over my belly. And I remember getting in an argument with him saying, I don't want to. It's embarrassing. And he goes, I don't care if it's embarrassing. You're not going to embarrass the family with your belly hanging out. Oh. And I was 13 and I vividly remember that. Like, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody.
Right.
It's just who I am.
Are your parents still alive?
My father has passed now. My mother is still alive, but I try to keep as little contact with her as possible. Yeah.
Did you ever, before your father passed, did you ever discuss any of this type of stuff with him?
A little bit. I kind of explained to him that, how to put this? I explained to him that it wasn't the best way to get through to me, the yelling and stuff. Because I started my weight loss journey right after he died, essentially.
Okay.
And so, how do I put this? I never really got to discuss like how bad it was for me, the things he did. But now looking back, I understand what he was trying to do. He didn't know any other way. You know what I mean? Like, my father was raised by divorced parents who literally on Christmas morning, their gift to their children we're getting a divorce.
Oh,
that's what they told their kids on Christmas. So a lot of trauma from his past, even. So I've learned to forgive him for the things he did because he didn't know any better. He wasn't raised any better. You know what I mean? So he did the best he could by us kids. He always went to work. The day he went into his coma, he went to work that day. Like, he was the hardest working son of a bitch I've ever met. He used to be a delivery driver for construction goods. He worked so hard that he literally had a permanent mark on his shoulder from carrying doors and lumber on his shoulder, because it just every day he would do that.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from him in discipline and being an example of what a man should be. But he also had that other side of him that was didn't know how to handle the situation. So anger was the solution. You just get angry and yell.
I want to commend you for a moment because I have a lot of issues with my father. My parents are divorced, and I don't talk to my dad at all. I've never really had much of a relationship with him, and not actively, but I do bear some background like resentment and anger towards him, and it's not something I deal with all the time and not something I really think about all the time, but I always want to make sure I commend people who are like forgiving their parents, because I'm not in a place to do that, and I don't think about it enough to be like I want to get to there or like anything like that, but I recognize that it's a super based thing that you are able to be like, I forgive you for what you did, so
it's hard though.
It is hard, and I that's why I want to make sure I commend you, because I recognize precisely how difficult it is, because I'm going on 30 years old. I just turned 29, and there's not a moment that goes by that I'm like, oh man, one day I'll fucking forgive my dad. I'm just like, nah, fuck him. So it's that easy to still be on that tilt. So to have done all of the work in the opposite direction of, I'm at this place where I recognize that you were not trying to be bad, you just were not doing things in the right way, is it's worth commendation.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very
well, let me give you a little tip real quick. I know you didn't ask for advice, but I'm gonna give it anyway.
What we're doing here.
When it comes to your father, realize the tools you have to work through your life's problems, he most likely didn't have. So you might be looking at him from an aspect of, I could be wrong, but it might be like, well, he didn't do this or he did do that. Because you're applying the tools you've been raised by and the things you've been learned with to how to get through a situation. That was one of the big things for me personally, is my father wasn't taught about how to control his anger. He was not at all. It's not part of the Hispanic community. If you're mad, you fucking express it. Who cares?
Right.
And when I learned that he just didn't have the tools to manage his anger, no one taught him that was not okay. So that's one of the things that really helped me, is to go, he may not have been perfect, but he was doing what he knew.
Yeah.
And how can you hate on somebody for doing what they know? I can't hate anybody, whether it's my father, a sibling, a cousin, doesn't matter, some stranger. If that's all they know, hating on them just, how do I put this, weighs you down.
Yeah.
There's no reason to hold on to that.
And I think that's really the only like forgiveness that I give for myself. Is not something I think about actively, like my parents got divorced when I was 2, and my dad was pretty much gone from then on, so we've had enough separation that I don't think about it every day. It's not like consistently weighing me down, but definitely if we have a conversation about it, if I have to be honest about it, I still bear those feelings, but they're not active enough for me to like, for it to be oppressing me. You know what I'm saying? So that's, I think, part of why I also don't like think about it that much. I think that's a very good point about the tools thing, because, and Colin, I know will understand this and agree with. I have an issue with expectations in my life, and I don't want to say it's an issue because I don't think it's an inherently bad thing, but it causes me personal issues when I'm dealing with other people. I have very high expectations for everybody in my life. That's just how I'm operating on this level. I expect you to be operating on this level. Like, we are all going to carry each other together. We're all working hard. We all need to be working hard. We need to be doing the things that we're doing. We all need to be striving for better. And so I have thinking specifically about my father. I've never given him the grace that he was violently beat as a child, and my sister and I were never hit. We were never hit by my dad, and that's partially because he wasn't around, but also I don't have no reason to believe that if he was around that he would have abused us, So that's definitely a plus. That's definitely a plus that he wasn't emotionally supportive, but he wasn't abusive. He never hit me, either my sister or I. So that's a plus when I know for a fact he was violently beaten as a child, And I never really thought about that, about just what tools did he have, And I think I come down on both of my parents a lot for not wanting more, for not wanting better, because they're both adults now. I know they recognize the issues they had when they were children and the deficits they had as parents. And I, as a parent now of 2 children, how could you not want better for us? How could you not have tried harder to do this thing better? And I don't know that that's the reality. That's my perception of what's going on, just because I know the level of work that I'm putting in and willing to put in for my kids. And so when I think about what I feel are shortcomings, like in my coming of age, I'm just like, why wouldn't you want more though? Like, why wouldn't you continue to try harder to make it better? Why would you plateau at this level and be like, at least I didn't fucking beat him? Like that just seems foreign to me. And that's why I don't think about it even in that context, because it's not, why aren't you always trying for more? I'm still alive. You're both still alive. Why are you not trying harder? Maybe they don't know how. Maybe they don't know how, and I'm never even considered that for a moment, that they are comfortable with where they have reached because they are better than their parents as far as the way they raise their kids. So they're like, I did do my job, and now my children just don't recognize it. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, that's an interesting...
Go ahead.
I would say it's an interesting way to think about it, because if, like, let's say your parents were raised at like a level 5, if they feel like they've achieved level 6 and they could go up higher,
right,
then it's fine. I did better.
Right.
And so my kids are better off than I was, and so I'm just good here. I'm comfortable now. They're fine.
Right. My expectation is that you're shooting for a 10, so when I don't see you doing that, I'm always feeling like you just suck. You're just not fucking trying, Yeah. Which is that's super interesting. That's really, really interesting.
But that also comes down to, you have to remember that there's a loss on investment at a certain point. So you may be shooting for that 10. But somebody who works as much as I do, there's times like I miss holidays with my family. I don't have any kids, but I raised my 3 sisters after my father passed away and stuff, because my mother went off the rails. So I've taken care of kids. I have 22 nieces and nephews.
Woo.
Since I was 12 years old, I've raised kids.
You are Hispanic.
So I kind of understand it, not as a personal thing, but what was I going to say? Shoot. You got me there, Colin.
Sorry, man.
Return on investment.
Yeah.
Oh, so at a certain point, your parents may have thought, why am I going to strive for more when now I have the things they need, or the kids have what they need, my bills are paid, and I actually get to have time to myself or for them or to do anything. I don't have time to do anything. Like, as soon as we're done with this, I have to go to do something else.
100%.
So there is kind of a thing where it's parents can sometimes make that conscious choice to go, we're okay because we still have freedom, we still have time, we still get to do things with the kids. Like some of these people who are ambitious, Jeff Bezos doesn't know his kids at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's too busy. So that's where you have to take into account making enough money to take care of all the needs, but not working so much that you have nothing else. That's all your life is work.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying what comes to mind for me is that might have been your parents' thing. Like, hey, things are paid, kids are taken care of. We're not having to go beg for money and food. Who cares?
Yeah, no, and that's definitely not the position that we were ever in. We were in, I'm going to say, borderline poverty a good majority of my, because I had a single mother. It was my mom and my grandma that was raising me and my sister. So it was just, the 4 of us, I guess, until I was like in high school. So it was, we were on food stamps and stuff most of my childhood. But I think there are a myriad of things that go into both of my parents' various, issues. But no, I find that very interesting. The initial concepts we talked about, I don't think about them much. I don't talk to either of my parents, so I don't, whether it's subconscious or something I'm doing actively that now just happens, I don't think about them much. I don't commit time to that. It's not worth whatever, it's gonna strike up in me. I may get upset, I may be happy about it, I may feel totally neutral. It's not worth whatever. That ROI for me is backwards. I'm not going to get any returns on that, so it's not worth investing any fucking time in at all. It's just how I'm on the day to day.
Which is why I also, actually it was last March, I cut my mother out of my life, and I've talked to her a couple of times since then, but I'm not involved with her. Going back to what happened to me as a kid, is I never told my parents about because it was my mom's friend Debbie who did what she did to me, and it happened multiple times.
They never found out about either event?
No, not at all. Not until I was an adult. Now, this, just to give you some context of why I say my mother is a narcissist, is this. I was 24 years old when I finally worked up the courage to tell her, to say, Mom, I was raped and molested as a child. We were in her pantry, and I said, Mom, I need to talk to you. And she's like, what? And I told her, Debbie was molesting me at those sleepovers that she used to ask us to come over so you guys could go out. And she said, so you say.
Oh.
I was an adult. And I went, what?
Gross.
And she goes, yeah, so you say. I don't know. I haven't talked to Debbie. And
Let
I'm
me
like,
fucking
sitting
get
there.
Debbie's take on this. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Exactly. And that right there started me down the path of I can't be around her.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally last year I made the hard decision, because it is your parent. For me it is anyway. It's like, she did give birth to me, but I kind of made a hard move of, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't be around this anymore. And it's been hard because she's struggling with her health and things now, but I have to protect myself and my own mental state, because I do know what it's like from all this stuff from both arms.
Right.
I know what it's like to be in the depths of depression, to not get out of bed for almost 3 years. It's terrible. And I realized when I look back on my life, a lot of my emotional trauma came from my mother, even though she was the one I ran toward. I didn't understand what trauma bonding was back then. I didn't understand that she was creating a dependent child. That's what she wanted. I was her last kid. I was the youngest of 6, and she wanted me to be dependent. That's why she didn't care if I ate a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, if he's huge, he's not going to move out because he can't hold a job. She wanted that for me.
Yes.
And it's a dark mother that does that to her child. To say, I'm going to actively hold you back.
I've had a very, very similar experience with my mom. Obviously different circumstances because my life is not yours. But as far as the relationship, the dependency factor, the very, very odd, very untraditional relationship style because of the level of closeness, and it was very manipulative. My family in general was very transactional. That's just how all of the relationships was. So when you were talking earlier about not trusting people because what do they want from me? I deal with a lot of that still now. I just don't. It takes a lot to win my trust over, and it doesn't take much for you to lose it. If you fuck up one time, I'm pretty quick all right, well, I'll see you again in a year when you've done enough fucking background work for me to think that maybe you're trustworthy again, because I don't believe you. I don't trust you inherently. I don't know what your intentions are. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know any of that stuff. So I'm not going to give you any more than just what's right here, because you've not earned it, So I very much identified with that, what you're talking about, and that dependency thing from your mom is very same deal. I identify with that a lot. That it's super poisonous, super duper poisonous, and it's gonna be going on 3 years that I haven't spoken to my mom, and a lot of that was fueled for me because I was starting to see the seeds of those relationships being built with my son. The transactional relationships with other members of my family, and just the things that happen with me. I'm like, this is not something I'm going to allow happen. So we're done with this. I spoke with them about it. This is not a dynamic that's okay with me. If you want to spend time with him, this is how it needs to be. And it never shifted, it never adjusted, So it's we're not going to do this. If you guys are fully grown adults and you're not going to strive for more than what we're at now, and I'm telling you that we need more, then we're not going to interact anymore. This is not something that's okay. It was different. I was fine with, I definitely felt that, you're my mom. There's a guilt factor of that, of you're my mom. I spent my entire fucking 18 years of my life living in your house doing these things, but it took, because I dealt with it personally for a couple years before my son was born. And then when Dax was probably 2, was, when they were starting to do that, I was like, that's enough. This is carried now over into the next generation, and this is not something I'm going to allow to continue. So,
and that's the same thing with because I'm one of so many kids. I've had to do that with even my siblings, where I see the toxic traits and the behaviors that they're doing, and I have to separate from everyone.
Yeah,
that's like one of the hardest things for me, because I love my siblings, most of them. I love them. But I have to keep my distance because I see you guys are still drinking. At one point I had 3 older brothers that were all homeless on meth. Like, when you see that, it's like I was involved in drugs too. So I couldn't judge them, but now that I've gotten some time being clean, and I do use my cannabis for pain relief and stuff, but getting some time away from the opiates, away from the alcohol, I started to see the same patterns in them.
yeah,
And I tried to integrate my life into theirs after my divorce, and I started to do what they did.
yeah.
I was like, it's just, how's that saying go? Show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Okay.
So I had to separate myself even from family, which is very hard, like, for me, because I'm very family oriented. I love all my siblings. Like, yeah, they're assholes, but I'm an asshole. So, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
But separating from them has allowed me to see what traits I do, how especially me. My biggest issue is anger. Like, I have a hair trigger anger. Like, I can be angry in an instant. So I have to do a ton of work. Like, every morning I have to journal and read, because it centers me for the rest of the day. So, like, I got asked the other day, what's the best advice I could give for men's mental health? And I said, get up early. And this dude was like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't want to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I fucking hate it. Like, I am not a morning person. But when I start my day by doing something I absolutely hate, it builds that discipline for the rest of the day. So when it comes to the things I need to eat, or the jobs I need to complete, or whatever it is, I'm disciplined from the very start. And that's what has really helped me in the weight loss and getting off the drugs and stopping the drinking and everything, is getting up early. Just saying, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Which is
forced
hard.
adversity in your life,
voluntary
like that.
adversity.
Yeah. To just touch real quick on like the years of pretty hardcore drug abuse, do you have any concerns that there's going to be some health complications that come from that in your future?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay. So this is funny. Do you ever hear the saying? It's in the medical field that when you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras.
Yes.
Yeah.
You ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
Okay. They say I'm a unicorn because my liver's perfectly fine. Even though I used to take literally 30, 40 Norco with 10 to 20 Tylenol at a time while drinking alcohol.
Yeah. What about your
Yeah.
kidneys?
My kidneys are fine.
Really?
Fucking unicorn.
Quite
over
literally,
here, dude.
I got offered a study at Stanford to do part of a pain management study because they don't know how in the world it's possible. They're like, this makes no sense. So as of now, I'm healthy. Other than my hips and my back, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
It's just they don't think that the hip issue came from the pills or anything like that. They think that I was born with hip dysplasia.
Okay.
And I played sports and I was huge and I kept going and doing stuff and it just wore out over time and killed him.
Yeah.
So other than that, like, I was on high blood pressure meds. I'm off of those. My blood pressure's good. My blood work's good. My heart's good. Lungs are good. Even though I just recently quit smoking, like, I'm kind of an anomaly when it comes to medical things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we need to keep you safe somewhere in a secure facility and do a lot of studies.
This is what Captain America really looks like.
Yes.
They don't want you to know
what's
this
kind
is
of
what
funny
Captain America really looks like.
I have a genetic mutation. So pain management doctors always want to give opiates. That's all they want to give. And I was like, I don't want that. So they put me on a Toradol shot and stuff like that, which is what I use now, which is non-opiate, by the way. It's just
It's like
an
a steroid,
anti-inflammatory.
right?
Yes. No, it's not a steroid. It's an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
It's an NSAID, but it's in an injectable form.
Okay.
But my doctor was like, okay, we want to give opiates. I said, no. So after going, because you have to go through therapy and everything as part of the pain management program, I was talking with them and the doctor went, I want to do a DNA test on you. And I said, why? He said, because something's not making sense that you can take. To this day, I can take 20 Tylenol and I'll be fine. Like, that would kill most people.
Yeah.
And he was like, this doesn't make any sense. You should be dead. So they did a mouth swab, and I don't remember the exact name of the genetic condition. I would have to talk to my doctor and find out, but it's like MX33751 or some weird number and letter mix up, where my body processes opiates 5 times faster than the average person. I also can't feel pain the same as other people. So I have that hole in my sinus cavity, or that hole from my mouth to my sinus cavity. It's essentially a dry socket. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here talking to you with a dry socket.
Right.
That shouldn't be possible.
No.
So the doctors are like, okay, we kind of want to, they can't, because of laws, they can't directly ask you, will you be part of this study? They're just like, hey, there is a study going on. I'm like, I don't know what exactly want to be experimented on,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're
but
already
they
a
are,
superhero.
when it comes to my health, they don't understand. Like they don't know. They just don't know.
So you do,
Because
you do feel
I shouldn't
pain
be functioning
just,
normally.
You do feel pain, just not like at the same level of severity as everybody else. Is that because I know there's some people that like don't feel pain, like they have
No, I do
whatever,
feel
like
pain.
a brain fuck up that's like they can put their hand on a stove and they're just fucking. But
Yeah, no.
Okay, that's super interesting.
So what it is, it's more of the pain has to be to an extreme level in order before my brain registers it.
Mhm.
That's the way that that genetic condition was broken down to me. And weirdly enough, it's in a lot of redheads. Like, you ever heard the old saying, never fight a redhead?
Yeah. Okay.
Because they'll not stop. That's
Yes.
true.
I kind of think that I have heard this.
Yes, it's
the
true.
pain tolerance thing in redheads.
I think it's just proving the fact that gingers don't have souls.
Right.
I mean, we're getting closer and closer to
don't.
that. So
That's what the pain layer is your soul being singed when you touch the stove when it's not there. It has
pain
to
comes from
permeate.
your soul. So
Right.
there you go.
It's just like an air gap almost that the pain has to travel through. That is super fucking interesting.
Man, oh man. So the day that you decided to essentially completely change your life for the better, how has that affected you? When exactly was that? Was after all the series of like the family members
When and
dying?
why? Yeah.
Like, tell that's the exact moment you were like, we're not doing this anymore. Tomorrow's going to be different. And then it was.
See, there's no one single moment. So I had moments where I told myself that this is it, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I would, after a few weeks, I would start to slide back into that. So I got divorced in 2016, or my wife filed for divorce in 2016. It was finalized in February of 2017. By May, I told myself I want to change. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of drinking. I'm tired of doing the drugs.
Because at that point you were still like over 400. What was your?
Yeah, by that time I was 460 something, somewhere around there. So, because when you're that large, your weight can fluctuate 30 pounds very easily.
Right.
You don't eat for a day or two, and your body's like, "Oh, eat all the fat," kind of thing.
Oh, that's so.
So I was
crazy.
going through a depression, not eating, and your body will eat itself.
That's so fucking weird.
So I was probably around 460, I would say, around that time. And I actually watched a podcast with Jocko Willink. It was the first time he was on Joe Rogan.
Fucking Jocko,
and they talked about
fucking Jocko.
They talked about doing hard things. Make yourself do hard things. And I was like, okay. So I started to do that. And then in September of that same year, my father died. And I was like, oh, crap. So I started drinking again. That I wasn't drunk at the time, but that led to a car accident where I almost died in October of 2017. And then I came back from that. So it wasn't no like single one moment of a day. But I think the number one thing that really changed me was in September of 2020 when I overdosed. I was in extreme pain, and I had went to my doctor and tell him, like, I need something. And they were like, we're not giving you anything. This is when I had just found out about my hips a year and a half before. And I was in really bad pain. I was like, I need something, please. I'll give it. I even said, I'll give it to my mother. She can just, give me the pills out to me so I don't abuse them. Just please. They said, no. I called an old buddy of mine from the work I used to do, and he got me some pills. And I didn't know they were fentanyl. I thought they were just oxycodone. Yeah. I take one. I wake up in the ambulance 4 Narcans later.
Jesus.
And that right there is where I went, okay, I have to stop completely.
Can I ask you a question?
But that was
It's okay if you don't know this. The 4 Narcan thing, is that because of the severity of the drugs, or does it have to do with your weight also?
That they said was the drugs.
Really?
Yeah, because and that's the thing is I already had a tolerance.
Right.
So whatever that pill
Was a
it had to
banger.
almost be pure fentanyl.
Jesus Christ.
They said I was breathing 4 times a minute. That's it. And I was on my best friend who lived across the street from me at the time had to do CPR on me. Aaron, he was like, he kept me breathing until the ambulance got there and delivered the Narcan.
Wow.
So I like literally owe him my life.
Which is super impressive. Honestly, like CPR is difficult to do in general. I don't think people recognize that. But like it is, you have to, the amount of force you have to put in. And if you're doing CPR on somebody who's fucking 460 pounds, you're fucking huffing to make sure that their chest is moving. Like that's.
He picked me up. He's 5'4", 5'5", and somehow, because apparently I don't remember this, but I was slumped over, head almost between my knees in my chair, and my mom found me. She yelled for him because she couldn't move me. And at 5'4", 5'5", he picked me up and moved me and laid me on the ground and was doing CPR while calling an ambulance and everything else. They got there and rushed me to the hospital.
Just super adrenaline like a motherfucker. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like the mom that picked up the car to save their baby. That's fucking crazy.
That's nuts. Are you still?
He saved my life.
Are you still friends with him?
And I think, he'd moved to Florida now. He got out of the state, and I'm like, damn it. But he's a great guy, and I really do owe him my life.
Yeah, like literally.
What's his name?
Like literally, Aaron Russin.
Shout out to Aaron. Yeah, goddamn.
Aaron. The unicorn wouldn't be around right now.
He kept me alive, man. Because the thing is at that time, so that was in 2020. For a few years I had been trying to lose weight, and I would lose some and then gain it back, and then lose some and gain it back. I'd get off the alcohol for a little while and then get back on it, and there was never any like clear thing to get me to stop until that overdose. And the pill I got was somebody I'd known for years.
Yeah.
I thought I could trust this person. So again, I faced something where I thought somebody I could trust, and they broke that trust.
Did you ever discuss that with him? Like, yo, I fucking almost died. And what did he say? It was like this was an accident, or?
Pretty much, he said, "Well, I didn't know that wasn't a real pill. I got it from a buddy of mine." So it was, long story short, it was like he got it from one of his friends, and his friend got it from another friend, thinking that they were real. Yeah. And no, it was completely fake.
Just fake Oxycontin telephone is all we're playing. That's
pretty much
crazy.
Yeah. But that's the moment I literally moved out of I lived in what's called the Central Valley. It's where all the food gets grown in California.
Okay.
It's very farmland, ranches and stuff. That's why I hate when people talk about California is so liberal. I'm like, just go in the valley. It's it's Confederate flags flying, in the Central Valley.
Get out of the cities, man, and it's a totally different. Yes. It's just like most places. Get out of the cities, and people generally are like, there's a lot of Trump flags flying.
Yeah, so that's what I did. Is I literally said, I'm getting out of the city. I moved to. I now live in Sonora, California. It's 4,500 people. It's. When I say small town, like it's a legit small town.
That's very small.
Very much so.
Yes, and where I work and stuff in Twainhart is like 2,500 people. So I'm away from the city, and I hate going to the cities now.
Yeah.
Like,
what is the closest big city to you?
The nearest one would probably be maybe Merced, where I grew up, but that's still only like 100,000. Fresno's about 2 hours away, and Sacramento's about 2 hours away from where I'm at. So those are probably the really biggest one. Other than that, it's towns of, from a couple thousand to 30, 40,000. Yeah. But I try to stay out of any city that's not like less than 5,000 people.
Yeah. And 40,000 is like, that's what Bremerton is. Bremerton is the city that we live in. And that's what, it's like about 40,000 people. And when I was growing up, it was less. It was way closer to 30. It covers a very big area. So those 30,000 people are very, very spread out. So that one day that we were talking about small town and you were like, fucking 40,000 people, that's not a small town. Like part of it is because it's so, the fucking trees, the area that we live in the Pacific Northwest, that there's shit everywhere. So things are just very, very spread out. So even 30,000 people, like you can still run a whole day of errands and like run into less than like 100 people if you just don't go to huge stores, it just depends on that. And it feels much bigger now. But it was only within the last year that I was like, oh my God, we actually really don't live in a small town anymore.
No. And see, that's how I grew up too. I grew up in Merced, and it was 30,000 people. I thought it was a small town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they brought in a UC, a university. And as soon as they brought in the UC, now it's up to 100,000.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I got out of the city and I moved to Sonora, and literally we call it mountain time here, where things close at 5 o'clock.
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't get a fucking choice. It's
Right.
like, the shop is closed. Bye.
Yep.
We don't care.
Yes.
And I showed you guys that picture of the place that's a gun store during the day and a bar at night.
Yes,
Like,
dude.
Which is
That's
awesome.
kind of environment, you know.
I love that.
That's
So-
over Christmas. We went to Leavenworth, Washington, which is it's up in the mountains, and it's like with like a Bavarian village, right?
Yeah.
So it's all it's all super German and stuff like that. And around it, that's a very small town in itself, and around it is even smaller towns. And we stayed in a town called Ronald, which had like what did I say, like 490 people
Yeah.
in it, like just fucking nobody that was there. And it was on my birthday's Christmas Eve, and so we drove through to like try and do something, and it was like 6 o'clock and everything was closed. I was like, well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we'll fucking go to the next town because nothing is happening in goddamn Ronald.
Dude.
I was,
It's so because even
And I
like,
love it though.
when I was
It was
growing up
very
around
nice.
here, it was still after 6 o'clock. The only place you could hang out as like, unless you like, the only things that were open were bars.
right.
And being underage, like the only place for us kids to go hang out was like go to Applebee's
Right.
because they were open late and you get their fucking half price appies and
Get
stuff
there
like
past
that.
9, yes.
Yeah, and like that was the only place you could hang out because still everything started closing.
Yes.
And then when I moved back here after the Coast Guard, it was a totally different town. Like shit's open all the time now, and I'm like, I
Right.
don't even recognize this place
some
anymore.
grocery stores are open 24 hours now. It's pretty crazy over
It's
here.
wild shit.
That's kind of how it is too. Our Jack in the Box is now open 24 hours, and everyone in the community, like they literally did a radio segment on the radio. Of, what do you feel about the 24-hour?
It's changing the
Oh, God.
foundation of our town.
That is awesome.
So what
But
makes you?
but you know what? I got out of that city, and I got out of that toxic environment, and that's what you asked about, Colin. Going all the way back to that was the moment for me. Is I overdosed, and I said enough. I can't live this way anymore. I have to separate myself from everything that I've known.
Yeah.
And I moved in with my girlfriend, and I was like, okay, got to try this. You know, I got to see where this will go. And still, I didn't drink and stuff anymore, but I would still get angry and have a big issue dealing with my emotions up until about a year and a half ago. Because, like, raised by my father and my mother, I already told you, they didn't give me any tools to manage my anger or manage emotion, period. I was sit down and shut up, don't have emotions,
Yeah.
you know? And when you're raised that way, of course you're going to do drugs. Of course you're going to drink.
Yep.
It's like,
Shut it off.
exactly. It shuts you down. And, like, I hope this gets clipped and put out there. I'm tired of people saying drugs are bad. This is the biggest thing. I'm libertarian, but stop saying drugs are bad, because the truth is they're fucking fantastic.
That's right.
They're so great. You'll give up your home, your kids, your money, your food, your everything for them. But we keep telling kids drugs are bad, and then they go, oh, well, then they must be bad. But then they try weed, and it's like, oh, that's not bad. Well, what else isn't bad? The alcohol must not be bad, too, or the cocaine might not be bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell them the truth that no, they're not bad, they're so good you'll give up your life for them. You'll die to obtain them. And I just lost a friend a month and a half ago to fentanyl, an old friend of mine, Ray, because he didn't understand that concept that, dude, you're giving up everything for this drug.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have a life other than in pursuit of the drug.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, when's the next fix?
Yeah, I had heard that
So-
recently. It's the whole drugs are bad thing. It's like, no, drugs are fucking great. But the
Right.
problem
Mhm.
is they're too great. And then
Yes.
same thing. You'll literally give up I remember the first time I ever did ecstasy when I was over in Europe. The one and only time I've ever done it is for some reason I was at an age where I could recognize how fucking amazing it was, and I said, I'm never doing that again. Because that is
You were
my
lucky.
problem drug. And it's like that I'm gonna have way too much fun with that, and it's gonna be a problem.
I think
Yeah.
that's very interesting, because I think we've talked about that a little bit before, like just the messaging that goes out about drugs. And
Yeah.
it's counter. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
because I
It's some
went through
1950s era shit.
I went through the same thing.
Yeah.
When you tell them that they're bad, you're like, well, I'm going to do them anyway because you're telling me that they're bad. And then you realize, like, it's actually pretty fucking cool to be high all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's very, I did a myriad of drugs when I was in high school. Lots of the drugs. And I remember we did a lot of really irresponsible shit, a lot of like combining alcohol and pills and stuff like that a lot. Like we did a lot of that, just a shocking amount of that when I was in high school. And we knew that it was dangerous, but it was also, you know, a thing that you're just like being scolded for. Like you're not really understanding or being told like this is the best high ever, but it will fucking kill you very, very easily. You know, like it's just don't ever do this because you'll die. And like also, I'm 17 and I'm never gonna die, so I don't know what you're talking about. It was just it doesn't work. You know, it's very confusing. And my children are young enough that I don't yet have to contend with this, you know, but it's something I think about consistently because like I get high, I smoke weed every day, you know, and I drink beer all the time, and I still like, for some reason I'll drink beer in front of them, but I don't like to stand in front of you when I'm hitting a pen, you know. I'm making the argument this is the same thing, but I'm treating it differently, you know. And I think part of it is still just a perception deal, you know, that like I don't know. More people are. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what it is. You know. But it's a messaging thing that like when I've smoked weed for a very long time. I don't have an inherent issue with it, obviously because I do it. But I don't think it's something that kids should be doing. You know.
No.
And so it's just a hard. I don't know. It's hard. Less kids like alcohol than they like weed. You know. So it's easier to be like, hey, you want to fucking sip this beer, and then they hate it, and you're like, ha ha ha, you're never gonna fucking. But the first time they get high, they're probably gonna love it. So.
Yeah, well, me raising my 3 younger sisters, because my parents adopted 3 girls later when I was already 18. They adopted 3 of my nieces, actually, because of one of my brothers who was on drugs on the streets. He lost his kids. My parents took them in, and I raised them. I was very clear with them. Even this is when I was still abusing drugs, and I would tell them, stay away from everything except for weed, including alcohol. Stay away from alcohol, because alcohol is one of the drugs that can kill you very easily.
It's so easy.
You take just too much of it, or you do it for too long and then stop, you're gonna die.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always pushed, because kids are gonna experiment. It's just, I'm a realist.
Yes.
They're going to do something.
Yes.
So I would open up with them and tell them, like, if you're going to do something, choose cannabis, do it responsibly, and be safe, but never let it lead to anything else. And so far, they're all in their mid-20s, and if they smoke weed, that's all they do. They're not going out and drinking. They're not going out and taking pills and stuff, because they saw me struggle with it every day. And because I struggled with it for, you know, from 2007, after my nephew died, till I guess 2020, so about 13 years.
The risk to reward is off. You know, it was off when I was a kid. It was off when you guys were kids. But that was even before they were being mixed with their shit. You know, like when I was a kid, people were talking about things being laced, but that wasn't really a thing. You know, it was kind of just like a wives' tale, like that. You were like, oh my god, your weed might have LSD in it, and you might take a hit, and you're tripping for a week. You know, but that never. I've never heard anybody of that actually happening to. You know, but now I know multiple people who have like bought coke that has had fentanyl in it, and they've like done a bump and been like, something is wrong with that, I'm not doing any more of it. And then someone else they know who bought from the same guy dies a week later, you know. And so they're like, oh, it's only by my own luck and my own grace that I didn't do more of this coke and then fucking die later that night, you know. It's now that you literally don't know what is in it. It's not like his ecstasy where, you know, it's everything that they're putting in it. It's you literally don't know how much fentanyl is in any given thing that you could be consuming. And it's it's so off. The risk reward is so backwards now that it's like buying a house at the very end of the 2008 crisis. Like, you know that it's bad, but you're like, but I just have to get in anyway, right? You know, it just doesn't make any sense.
Oh man.
Well, at the point you have to start bringing in testing kits, I think it's time to call it quits.
Yes, man. The amount of comedians that have talked about them, like, you have testing kits. Like, fuck that, then, dude. You're having to buy. It's not like you're just buying
not doing this
papers
anymore.
or a pipe. You know, a paraphernalia for your drug to consume it. Now I need to make sure it's safe before I do it. No, sir. That's not. No way, brother.
I'm good with legalized weed. We'll just do that.
Yeah, get out of here. Fine. I don't. Fuck.
And that's the thing about, like I said, drugs. They will help you. They'll let you deal with your problems. I mean, not really,
right?
But it'll allow you to at least feel better about what you're going through.
Certainly.
And that is the part we have to. I make it my mission to explain to people is stop telling your kids drugs are bad. Explain the reality of drugs to them.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to have a beer. They're going to take a shot at a party. They're going to feel great and go, they lied to me. What else did they lie about?
Yeah.
Because I didn't do drugs in high school. I would literally, I'd go to parties, I'd have a sip or two of beer, and that was it. Like, oh, I'm drunk now. I remember pretending to be drunk because I didn't like alcohol because I had older brothers who were drug addicts, and I didn't want to be that. It literally wasn't until my nephew died that I said, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was religious at the time too, and I hated God. I was like, you left, first of all, left me in this health situation where I'm doing surgery on myself. And now you take my nephew at 47 days old. He didn't even have a fucking chance. Like, I still get emotional thinking about Caleb. That was his name. Because at his funeral, the casket was this big.
Right.
Jesus.
And when you see that, you go, fuck you, God. Fuck you. You didn't need to do that. And I hated him.
Yeah.
So I then went further into drugs.
So how do you, on the religious aspect, how do you reckon with that? Where did you arrive at in the end, right? Because I think many people ask that question, who are religious and non-religious, to make one point or another. If your God is so real, why is he fucking killing babies? And then people who have dead family members are like, why in the fuck would you take this child from the world? So how do you reckon with that? Like, are you religious now? Did you completely move away from that? Were you vibe with me?
Okay, I'm not necessarily religious now. I do believe in God. I'm more agnostic. For me, it came down to I used to get pissed off when Christians would say God works in mysterious ways, because that's what I got told when I went to my pastor and stuff about my nephew. Oh, God works in mysterious ways. Well, fuck you. All right, that's how I was. He didn't need to take a child that did nothing wrong. Period.
Well, no, like he wouldn't give you anything that you couldn't handle. It's like,
exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
All those things.
That's not helpful. No. Like I appreciate that you think I'm strong, but fucking get away from me.
So literally for me, it was, I had to tell myself, you don't know. You just don't know. And what that did for me is when it came to Caleb, how do I put this? It first came to me that because I hated God because he left me in pain. It was after Caleb and I was on the drugs, and then I found out about even up to when I found out about my hips. I'm like, why? Why do I have to suffer? I've already been in pain since 2005, and every day, like there has not been a day. How do I put it this way? Let me put it this way. Since 2005, I have 2 periods of time with 0 pain. Because even when I was taking opiates, I still had pain. It wouldn't take it all the way away. There were 2 moments of 5 minutes apiece where I literally broke down and cried because I didn't know. I don't know what it's like to not be in pain. Even as I sit here and talk, my hips are burning and my sciatics are spasming.
Right.
Like, I don't know what it's like not to. So I got mad at God saying, why? Why am I here? And whether it was the universe, God, a psychosis, I don't know. Something spoke to me and said, because you have to show people what's possible. And I went,
and you heard this? Like you heard it audibly?
Like in my head, not like an audio.
No, I'm not questioning either way. People have experiences. I'm just interested in what the actual experience was.
It was in my own head. It wasn't like an audible thing that I heard, but in my head, he said that, and I went, well, what the hell does that mean? And kind of went a lot further into the conversation of people give up too easily. Life is about struggle. And you have to get to the point where people have to get to the point where they can see it. If they can see you do it and they can see you push through pain, they will do the same.
Yeah.
Because we're a monkey see, monkey do species. We just are. We repeat what we see. And God told me that you're going to be the example to show people what people are capable of, is possible.
And if that's
that's when I literally was like, life. Exactly. And that's the only thing that keeps me going some days, honestly. Like, I get 4 hours of sleep a night, if I'm lucky, because the pain, I get the spasms going, my legs start going off and everything. So I literally have to tell myself sometimes, I'm helping people. Keep going, because you're helping somebody. There's somebody who's listening to your story, listening to your struggle and going, if he can keep going, I can keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going. And I get those messages from time to time of people saying, hey, I'm struggling with an addiction. I have one of my followers, I'll keep his name private. He's addicted to porn, and he's married with 6 kids, and he struggles and struggles and struggles with it. And he's like, well, just help me. And I told him, just try each day, try to not look at anything. Try to just stay off the internet. And now I think he's 6 months in, hasn't looked at any pornography, has renewed his relationship with his family. Like, I'm going to try not to cry. I know I'm a big dude, but I do have emotions. So, but he sent me a message.
That's what this whole show is about, man. That's what this whole.
I've cried multiple times already.
We've cried on various. We just haven't today.
Yeah.
This one's about you.
So, this follower of mine, we're exchanging back and forth with him, and he was telling me about he doesn't have a relationship with his kids. Really, I mean, they're like age 6 to like 21 or something like that.
God damn.
And he doesn't really know any of them, And he sent me a picture. He loves trail running, and he sent me a picture one day, and it was him, his wife, and all his kids on the trail with him. And he
Oh,
said, "This is because of you."
dude, that's
Sorry. And I just went, "Me? Who the hell am I? I'm no one." And then I remembered to God saying, "People need to see that they can do it."
Nope.
And I went, "Well, shit." Like, I guess this is my responsibility now. I have to keep going. And since then, my buddy Aaron, his wife, I think she's lost like 50 pounds by just following my page. And so she's the one that challenges me online, like, "Where are you at, 50 cal?" Or "Where are you at, triangle?" Like, I'm like, damn it, I got to get to the gym. But that's kind of. Oh, one second, let me close my window real fast.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
You're good.
Neighbors are out. But that's kind of where where was I at? Dang it.
Aaron's wife dropping 50 pounds,
Oh yeah.
going to the
So
gym.
Aaron's wife is losing weight. I've had a bunch of people message me with, like I told Colin last night, about a woman who got an advancement in her career. She got a promotion because she tried. My girlfriend, like, we started this business. We were like, we just need to make ends meet. Like, hey, we're just going to work to try to make sure that whatever we're spending, we can pay off the credit card at the end of the month. That's all we want. We were just going to try to do that. We had one residential client. That was it. Now it led into 3 years later, we're making around 80 grand a year, which is not great money, but I don't have to work for anyone else.
Yeah.
No one gets to tell me what I can and can't do.
Amen.
And for me and my personality type, we're both very type A. Great for us. No one gets to tell us what to do. We do what we want to do. And so for me, it's great.
That's fucking freedom right there.
And that's why I have my garden going now, which, by the way, tomorrow I got to go work on it for about 12 hours.
Yeah.
To get ready
It's
for the
getting
season.
into the season.
Yep. But that's like, going back to the original thing, is leaving the city, coming to a new location, and starting my life over is what it took for me to stop everything. And I still have the cravings to drink. I still have the cravings to do pills. When you live in pain, getting pain relief is seductive. You just, like, sometimes I used to say, I wish I could touch people and give them my pain for an hour. I just want you to feel it. And I know it's not possible, but just feel it. And the best example I've ever had, this is a funny story, by the way. My now ex-wife, her father was a redneck, like, you got to man up no matter what, like, heavy smoker. He actually talked like this, like, very manly. And he, at the time, this is before I found out about my hips, but I had the break in my back that causes permanent sciatica. And anyone who's never had sciatica, they don't get it, how painful it is.
Sciatica sucks.
Yeah. You can't do anything. And I didn't go to work one day, and he made fun of me. He was like, "Oh, you little pussy. You can't get up and work. You're not a man." A month and a half, 2 months later, something like that, he got sciatica and was crying on the couch. He's like, "Oh, I can't move. How do you do this?" I told you. You didn't want to believe me. You want to call me a pussy.
Jeez. Well, let me ask you. You've brought up your girlfriend a few times, and that's who you ended up. That was like your escape from the city. How?
Yeah.
But that tells me that you guys were together like during some of like your most hardcore times. I mean, how has your guys' where did it start? How did she deal with all that stuff compared to where you guys are at now?
It's kind of complicated because I resisted being, like, I didn't want to be in a relationship at the time. I had just gotten out of a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like,
Kevin.
Yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to be no one's boyfriend right now. I got out of a relationship where the woman was extremely abusive to me. And because I was raised by a narcissistic mother, I thought that was love and normal.
Yeah.
And so I kind of resisted her for a while, my girlfriend. So we, hung out and stuff like that. But it wasn't a relationship until I was like, all right, let's do this. Let me commit to you. I'll commit to the move. We're going to be more than just friends with benefits type thing, And she saved my life. My girlfriend, Jennifer, is an angel. She, like, quite literally has, how do I put this? She will whip me into shape when I'm being an asshole. And she'll tell me, like, stop being an ass. She calls me an ass all the time because I need that. I have such a dominant and strong personality that I'm always wanting to be in charge. And like you said, Donovan, about you demand perfection from other people. I do that. I do it all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I have to stop myself. And she's been
That's how you
very
get
big on
results,
helping
baby.
me. Yeah. My God.
Oh, dude. Oh, because I mean, that's
But yes,
when you think about it. I mean, that is quite the leap of faith from both of you guys. I mean, at that point, to just be like, well, just come live with me, come move out with me out here in the boonies, and we'll just make a life together. I mean, to go from friends with benefits, as you say, like to like, no, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
plus from dog training to Airbnb managing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that was like I had to quit dog training because I started to have so many hip problems. And it's a very active profession. You're having to constantly walk, and my walking started to become an issue. So that's when I went to the doctor.
What
And
kind
they
of
were
dog
like,
training?
"Are we going to take an X-ray?" What was that?
What kind of dog training? Like for people, like
Security dogs.
for security
oh
dogs?
wow,
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I had all the bite arms, all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of work for not a whole lot of pay. Like one of my dogs would be worth about $6,000 after training, but you're talking about 3 to 4 months of work to get that $6,000. So when time works out, it's like it's not really. It wasn't very profitable.
And it's a pretty niche industry. There's only so many people that are in the market for a security dog. You know,
exactly.
Like a properly trained security dog.
Yeah, like my dog, he's passed now, but he was trained in English, Russian, and sign language.
Whoa.
Like I could command him. I did sign language so he could know to attack even if I couldn't speak.
Yeah, the hand
So like
signals
if somebody,
are sick.
I had this envision in my head that if somebody slashed my throat, I could still give him a signal and he would come.
Yeah.
And it worked,
That's awesome.
But that leap of faith was, at first I did not I did not accept it openly. I resisted it a lot because I had trust issues, and I'm like, she's just going to be like my ex-wife and cheat on me. It is what it is. She's just like every other woman. And then once I moved in here, and after about 6 months of seeing that when I call them my fits, and I'd get angry and stuff, and she wouldn't get angry back, and she'd be like, all right. And she would just stay calm and let me till I calmed down. She didn't engage with me about stuff. She'd be like, we're not doing this. Like, throw your fit, get over it.
Yeah.
And that's what it took for me.
She was
is I would get
through
angry.
what you were doing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So she would be like, you're going to be mad, get over it. And her not engaging with me kind of healed me in a way, because I always was raised about someone who would engage with me, and then the fight would start. It would escalate and escalate and escalate. And she was just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, because you
Fuck
get
off.
you get like instant feedback like that, and then you just get caught in. Now we're doing this thing,
right?
Whereas if somebody isn't going to engage on that playing field, then there's no game to be played. So you just you throw your pitches, and then you're out.
And that's like the Cat Williams interview thing where he talks about toxic people are looking for something. I didn't know I was toxic. I was looking for something and she wouldn't engage with it. So that healed me as a person to realize, like, you don't have to get angry all the time. Not everything is worth punching somebody in the face. Like, you have to work in controlling you. And that's when I got into the stoicism and things like that. Because I needed something. It was actually at one of our Airbnbs, we were waiting for a delivery of a washer, and this particular one has a very steep driveway and it's gravel, and it was in the middle of winter, so there's snow. The guy that was delivering it said, I'm just going to drop it on the street level. You guys can take it up. And he's yelling at my girlfriend. And this was in February of last year. He's yelling at her, and I have a history, like I said, of who I used to work for. So I got very angry, and I got in his face and almost beat the shit out of him. Like, literally, my sister and my girlfriend were having to hold me back because I was so mad. And it was at that point that I realized I don't want to be mad anymore. I was 36 years old, almost 37. I'm tired of being mad. I'm tired of being upset about things. So I actually got into stoicism. And that's one of the main things that has really helped me stay off drugs and alcohol too. Because when you're doing drugs and alcohol, you're not doing it because you're happy. You're doing it because you're struggling to control your emotions.
Yes.
You feel all these things and you don't know how to handle them. What stoicism teaches is you don't have to handle them all the time. Sometimes it's okay just to feel like shit. and you have to keep enduring through that. And so I got into the stoicism and the journaling and the reading and things, and that's really helped me with my mental health.
I think.
Because
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I think back to 2016 when I was cutting myself and literally drinking a handle of vodka to myself a day. Like, the 1.75 liters?
Yeah.
I would drink one in 24 hours by myself. No one else took a shot. It was just me. And I was taking pills like crazy. Like, the fact that my liver's even functioning is amazing.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Yeah, like so I've gone from somebody who at one point was locked in a mental institution, which is a funny story in itself, because the place that they're not allowed to leave, like they would keep you locked in, they kept me there for 3 days, was called Exodus. I was like, that's kind of fucked up. The place I can't leave, you call Exit, but
That's really funny.
so I went through that.
I think the control thing is a really interesting aspect when you're talking about the control of your emotions, because the outbursts of anger are an attempt to control a situation. If you can be the loudest person, if you can almost like scare everybody else, then you can be in control of the situation, and then you can dictate the outcome. But you're not in control of yourself when your emotions are dictating situations and they're dictating your behavior. When even if it's something that you're like allowing to happen, when you're getting so irate that other people are having to physically restrain you from hurting another person, you're not in control of who you are. You're not in control of anything that's going on in that situation, because other people are having to try and control you, and it's a very counterintuitive thing that people do. That's a very, very common thing. The anger issues are very, very common, and it's just very interesting how backwards.
But that's what it took
is,
for me, though. That's what, for me personally, that's what it took, is I had to get to the level where somebody was literally like, dude, stop. What are you doing? You're an adult. Act like it.
Right.
And that's what it took. And I realized I can't do this anymore, because I'm 6'2". Even now I'm 265, and I'm done losing weight. It's all skin now, which means I've got probably about 20 pounds of skin. So the doctor's doing the math. They told me you're around 250 pounds of you'd be at about 15% body fat, 250 pounds. I'm not a small person.
Right.
This dude was like 5'3", maybe 110, 120 pounds.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't want to carry up the washer up the driveway. It was going to be too hard. He was too small. I would have hurt him very badly, especially with my past of what I used to do. I know how to hurt people. That's what I did for a living. I'm not saying that, and let me say that, but I'm not proud of that aspect of my life. I was a very, very bad person, and I openly admit I was a very, very bad person. But I would have been in jail. If I had truly not been able to control myself, I would be in jail, probably still.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I would have beat him into until he was eating out of a straw.
At best.
At best, yeah.
A lot of times you hit somebody, they hit the ground wrong, and then it's game over, and you just killed somebody.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff happens like that. Fights are not good, man. Fights are not good.
No, not unless they're sanctioned.
Exactly. There you go. Sanctioned fights are good times. So let me ask you about the stoicism thing, because we've discussed stoicism a few times with various people lately, and how did you find it? Did it find you? Did you seek it out, or did you hear about it, or did you just pick up Marcus Aurelius one day? I was like, oh, this dude was like a G. I'm going to read this book.
Yeah. So it's kind of a couple of different things. I heard about it growing up, about being stoic, but I just thought that meant emotionless. That's what I took it as. So when I was doing my drugs, I thought I was being stoic because I was in control of my emotions. I was lying to myself. Self-delusion is very strong, know? And so I was listening to, it was some Joe Rogan podcast. I was listening to it while I was working, and somebody had mentioned stoicism, and I went, I want to learn what that really is. What does it really mean to be stoic? And so I started to do some research, and then I learned about Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, and I went, oh, okay, I'll start reading into their stuff. And started off with meditations, then read on the passage of time, or the passage of life from Seneca, then got into Epictetus and stuff. And it really helped me to realize that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a normal man that has issues. Marcus Aurelius, so many times in his meditations, you got to remember, Meditations was not written to be published. Yeah. It was his journal. So many times he kept telling himself to stop being angry. Why am I angry? What is upsetting me is essentially what he was doing, And I had those same thoughts over and over again. And I realized here's somebody from 2,000 years ago, and I'm connecting with their journal. I'm going and doing the same things this man was doing, and being angry and upset and letting other people affect me. Like one of my favorite quotes from him was something along the lines of, when you wake up in the morning, realize that you're going to deal with the ignorant, with the stubborn, with the bullheaded, essentially. Like, you're going to deal with problems. You're going to deal with people who are ignorant. Don't get mad at them. That's just them. Why am I going to let them upset me? That's just who they are. I have to control me. And the only thing I can control is me. And even that isn't all the time, like none of us can control our bodies. I can wake up tomorrow and have cancer out of the blue. I don't get to make that choice. What I can choose to do is how I react to that diagnosis. How do I react to the person cussing me out? How do I react to the person being violent? Like, whatever the situation is, I can only control me. And that allowed me to almost like let go, like realize I don't got to control so much, because I'm not really controlling it anyway.
Yeah,
I'm lying to myself. And that, once I got that click in my head of, you're not controlling this shit anyway, Kevin. So stop trying. Let it go and focus on what you can control. You.
And it's really funny that that's a very basic concept that even before I was thinking about stoicism at all, or like, anybody, it had kind of renewed in like the common vernacular. We're saying that to our kids, like when our daughter was born and Dax is trying to get her to do stuff. We're like, Dax, who are you in control of? Like, who are you in charge of? It's me. Okay, who's in charge of sis? You guys, right? So you worry about you, and we'll deal with sister. At some point in our growing up, I don't know whether we're 7 or 10 or whatever, we completely fucking forget that. And we immediately allow other people to start to dictate how we react and what we're doing, and we try and control them. Like, I don't know when that happens, but most of us are taught that when we're kids. You can only control yourself. You have to let other people do them. Ignore them if that's what needs to be done. But then at some point when we're adults, we let all that shit pour right back in, and we're influenced by it all over again. I don't know what that is. It's weird though, because like I said, Dax is 5, and we're teaching him that now. So it's weird that there are people that are anywhere between the age of 18 and fucking 70 that are still allowing other people on the internet or in their real life to upset them and drive them to whatever's happening. It's very, very weird.
For me, it was, I wanted to be accepted at that time. Like when I got older and stuff, I wanted people to like me, because I went through that. I hate everybody, leave me alone. I don't want anyone to touch me. But then I got to the point where I was so lonely all the time that I was like, I got to have some type of friend. So people do that they will do things they know they don't agree with, because it's social acceptance,
right?
Because we are a social species.
It's peer pressure.
When I spent my 3 years in bed, like, I knew what it was like to know no one. Like, literally, all of my connections were through a phone. That was it. And I would go out and work, and that was come back and get in bed and drink. So I think a lot of it has to do with people want to be accepted. They want to be seen as normal and not be the outsider. I stopped giving a shit about that a long time ago. You're going to judge me by any way you want to anyway. I can't control what you're going to think or say about me, so I'm not even going to think about it. I got a business to run.
Yeah.
That's literally my mentality now.
And really, I mean, if you're doing that, you're trying to be somebody for other people just so that you can accept it. You're really lying to yourself about who you really are.
Yes.
The idea would be to essentially try to be comfortable with who you are, and then and then put yourself out there, and then you might find that people just like you for who you actually really are, and then you actually have some real friends there, and it's a cool deal.
Yes, I have regarded many times to you, just in a few last months, like I'm an unpleasant person to be around. Like I'm oftentimes not fun. People don't find me very interesting. Like, then that's maybe interesting is not the right word, but like
that's wrong.
People don't. They oftentimes don't like spending time with me. I'm fine with that. I am totally fine with that. I am fine with who I am, and I find a lot of value in it. And the people who do like to spend time with me bring a lot of value to my life, and that's what matters to me. You know, if you can tough it out through the expectations and through the bullshit and all the stuff, that's totally fine. You can't hang, and I don't really want you to be around anyway. But if you can, then I'm in for it, and you're gonna do something good. You know, if you can hang, you're gonna be around, and it's worth it. So It's very funny.
Well, that's why I now I have quality friends, not quantity.
Yes.
It's all about I want to have good people. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care if you're an ex-biker. I have those type of friends who were just like me and criminal and stuff. But I also have, because I was raised religious, ex friends who are ex-Christians, and they are still good people. But at the same time, I have to realize that I can't let either side influence me. What is it I want to do? Who do I want to be? Like
Yeah.
there's that quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was something along the lines of, "You don't discover who you are, you create who you are." And that's what I'm interested in. I know the man I want to be, and that's all I'm obsessed with, is creating him. And what steps does it take for me to create him? What steps does it take to not go back to this shit?
Yeah.
To not going back to cutting?
Yeah.
Because I had a suicide attempt. That's why I was in the mental institution for 3 days. I was going to kill myself because I was that depressed. I was that sad. And I never want to go back to that. I can't go back to that because it will kill me.
Right.
It's a fact of my personality and the way my brain works, is I will die if I start drinking again. If I start taking pills again, I'm going to die. And so having that as a red line in the sand, or whatever you want, a red line in the sand of, you can't do these things because that's what it will lead to. The problem I feel for most people is they've never gone through that deep of a depression where they literally hate themselves. People like to say, "Oh, I hate myself. Oh, I'm sad." It's like, are you trying to actively destroy yourself with drugs? Like, you're thinking,
Right.
as you're taking the shots of alcohol, you're like, hopefully this one kills me. Because that's where I was at.
Mental illness is
Like,
really cool right now. It's
it's
very,
fact.
very cool right now to be anything from like fucking mentally disabled to like autism to like depression and anxiety and even like schizophrenia and shit. I mean, people diagnosing themselves like on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's bad for a lot of reasons. One of them being because people who really deal with those issues are like, okay, now this doesn't matter. Like, this actual genuine experience, like, whatever I'm dealing with doesn't matter anymore because it's completely been washed out by half of the people who supposedly have autism don't actually have autism. They're just fucking assholes, and they're too wrapped up in their own phones and their own bullshit to socialize with other people. It's not they don't know how. They refuse to learn how. They just like, there's a difference there, that it's a bad look on people to be making stuff like that up,
Well, that's one thing I wanted to mention too, is this victim mentality. Okay, so we don't celebrate hard work in the West anymore, in general, usually, not just America, but we don't celebrate merit. We don't celebrate somebody like me,
right.
Who's going to say, I fucked up my life and I rebuilt it too. Now it's, well, how did you fuck up your life? Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate how you've been oppressed and the victim you are and what the things you went through. I'm gonna try not to get mad, but that's one of the most infuriating things to somebody like me, who's been raped, who's been molested, who's been beaten, who's done every drug you can think of, who tried to kill himself, who cut. Literally, most of the scars are healed up now, but that's what this tattoo is for. Is after I was done, I promised myself I would never cut again. I don't know if you guys can see it.
It's a razor blade. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a razor blade, and then I got them on this arm as well, as you can tell. So I know what it's like to have true mental illness. And when I see these TikToks and all this other shit, I'm like, you guys are full of it. You know how I know? You're making a TikTok.
Right.
Yeah.
True
You're on the
depression.
fucking internet about it. Yes.
Exactly.
You're recording
True
yourself
depression,
crying. Yes. Like,
you
what
can't
the
even
fuck are
look
we
at
doing?
yourself in the mirror when you're truly depressed.
Yes,
and
dog.
you're the video and edit the video.
Yes.
You're not.
I've made enough reels to know you hear them 90 times while you're fucking putting them together. Like, they play over and over and over and over and over again while you're putting captions and shit on them. So if you're that fucking upset, there's no way you're gonna listen to yourself cry for an hour while you fucking edit a reel together into all the different clips and all the captions and all the bullshit, and just to put it on the internet for people to see.
It's infuriating for people like me. You're a liar.
Yes.
Like, stop.
Well, and the damage that it's causing, like the rest of society, as they intake that and then they adopt those same tendencies.
Yes.
And there is.
You think it gives them virtue?
Yeah,
Look at me. Look what I've been through. Like, most people don't know that the things that happened to me as a kid. Most people don't, because it's not a virtue for me. It's just something I experienced. It's just my reality. I'm not sitting there going, look how great I am because I overcame being raped.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, but Men, people don't give a shit when we get raped and molested.
No.
They just don't care. Even
Right.
my own mother said, "So you say."
Right. That's so fucked up.
Fucked up.
You know what I mean?
It's so bad you have to laugh
It's
at it
so
because you're like,
fucked up.
that doesn't, that
Exactly.
can't
You
be
have no
real.
choice.
Yes, I
Jesus.
assume, but I also hope that you know I'm obviously not laughing at you through.
No, I know.
I
I get, you're
know
good.
that is
I've worked
totally
back.
how I process uncomfortability and just like shock. You know, it's just it's laughable. There's nothing to do. It's so fucking crazy that like
Exactly.
Yep.
But that's the thing. It's like, can I go and get the brownie points of look at me, look how much of a victim I am, look at everything I did. Yeah, I
Right.
could,
Nah, you're white.
but I wouldn't be.
Sorry, bud.
you have to be trans first. And
Yeah,
then
dude.
You could.
Then you'll be good.
Yes.
Hey, I already got the hair going a little bit.
Just dye it on the end and you're fucking locked
Yeah,
in, bro.
get some pink tips or some blue tips.
That's
You're
right.
good.
I gotta
Locked
shave
in.
this off though. I don't think this is I actually might be acceptable nowadays too. I don't
Just
know.
thin it out, honestly. That's
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know if you claim to be a woman. I think that a beard goes a long ways these days. I think it's fine.
Hey, the good news is because of all the weight loss, I do have boobs, so I can always just squeeze them together, put them in a bra, and be like, "Hey, you got to call me a woman now." Sorry, it's all just skin.
Oh Jesus!
True.
Oh, that's so
He's a fucking unicorn, and he's a goddamn
that's
comedian.
so awesome.
Hilarious.
No, it's
That's awesome.
you know what it is? It's trauma. When you've been through shit like I
That
have, you
is.
have to learn to laugh.
Yes.
Yep.
What else am I gonna do? Cry about it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
that's
no.
so funny.
It's I grew up with like Carlin and stuff, you know,
Yep.
like Richard Pryor, Patrice O'Neill. You laugh at everything.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You don't. There's not any one thing that's off limits.
No.
I've heard rape jokes where I'm busting up laughing as a rape victim,
Yeah.
but I don't. Actually, it's kind of weird. I have never referred myself as a rape victim. It's just somebody who was raped.
right.
Yep.
Because it happened. It is what it is. I've moved past it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things. Like going back to, is so angering when I see people who. I am not saying that people are sad at times. That's not depression. Your
Right,
dog just died, or your kid got in trouble at school, or whatever. You may be sad. That's not what I was going through.
Right.
I was going through blacked out curtains, no lights on, having fucking Marilyn Manson blasting in the background, drinking, snorting coke, taking pills, cutting my. That is like the stuff they show you in the movies where it doesn't look real. You're like, nobody lives like that. I lived like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's real depression.
Complete self-hatred.
Yeah.
And that's why people keep telling me online, you need to start a podcast. You need to start a podcast. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't have time, but I can find time somewhere. But at the same time, I don't want the attention to be on me. I don't want it to be about Kevin. I want it to be about the mindset, the triangle mindset.
Right.
Yep.
I want people to look at that and go, what the is this? Start researching it and then learn about my story and what is possible.
Because when you've dealt with stuff like that, right? Any of the type of stuff that we've talked about today, right? When you've dealt with it, you don't go around talking about it all the time unless there's something else fucked up with you still. Those are the only people that are that have legitimate trauma and are openly talking about it all of the time, is because there's something else that's still going on there that they're still trying to deal with, that they're like still trying to get that attention, but when you fully dealt with all of the things, it is part of, like you said, it's part of your life. You're not even now, you're not like, I'm a rape victim. You're like, it's a thing that I experienced when I was a child. Like you have fully come to the end of this experience of, this is just a part of my story now. I don't need to be fucking talking about it all the time because it's not relevant, to everybody that I meet. They don't need to know about it. It doesn't
Exactly.
So it's a.
Let me throw this at you guys and think about this, because you probably haven't put these two together. So I was raped at 10 by a man. I then had to have rectal surgeries constantly. So my rectum was always in pain, just like after I was raped. So I was in a constant battle of being reminded of being raped, of like having the same physical feeling of, I'm in pain from this. It was very painful when he raped me. It was very painful when I had to have surgery all the time in the same area. So that's one of the reasons I could never, there were many times I tried to stop taking the pills during that period of my life. I was like, I don't need these things. I'm not going to take them 2 hours later and popping a handful, because
my trauma.
That trauma was linked to a physical feeling, and I was having to keep experience that physical feeling of the rectal pain.
That's a mind job.
Yeah. So that's why you get to the point where you're cutting yourself and you just hate everything.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in this point in my life where like I'm probably in the happiest stage of my life right now, like, and it's not, and it doesn't come from I have a bunch of stuff or I have a huge house. I don't. I live in a townhouse, but I have a good woman by my side who loves me. I have a successful business that's doing great, and my health is still here, and I'm lucky that it's still here. Because
Right.
in all reality, I should be dead.
4
Like,
Narcans ago, you fucking were dead.
Yeah.
yeah. And then I had my car accident too, where
Yeah.
I broke 8 ribs. I bruised my liver, bruised my spleen. I had internal bleeding and was bleeding into my abdominal wall or abdominal cavity. And I had a doctor send me home. I had to be metaflighted to another city. He sent me home with internal bleeding because he didn't do a full scan. So I got in a head-on collision. I hit a tree going, I think, like 50 miles an hour. I don't remember. And the steering wheel had hit me in my sternum. Well, he only scanned me from my chest up. So if you can see, I don't know if you can, but here's my left pec. My right pec, I can still push into it right here. I don't know if you can even see it, but it's where the seatbelt severed my pectoral major. That's how
Oh.
hard I hit. I have my pec muscles in 2 different pieces here, right?
Whoa.
So doing weight bench is actually really hard on my right side because the left side will keep
Right,
going. The right side won't.
right.
Jeez.
But I did all that, broke, like I said, 8 ribs, bleeding internally, going through all this crap. And that was a struggle. I was literally spent a week in the hospital, and I was at that time was still doing drugs, and I couldn't get my drugs. And I was a hellion to deal with, when and they're like, "Oh, we'll give you, 4 milligrams of morphine." I'm like, "I take 40. What
Right.
why are you giving me 4? Like, what are you talking
is a
about?"
joke.
Jeez, man.
Like I've told one doctor about the time I took 50 Norco at one or 56 Norco at one time, and he goes, "No, you didn't." I said, "I promise you I did." And he goes, "That's like 5,600 milligrams of just Norco, not including the Tylenol that's in there." I said, "Oh, I took Soma with it." That's one of the reasons the doctors are like, "What are you? Are you even human, dude? Like that will kill most people."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it, but I could right now grab 20 Tylenol and swallow them and continue the conversation for 22 more hours. Like,
Don't
I
do
would be
that.
perfectly fine.
Don't do
I'm
that.
not going to. Don't worry. Donovan's like, "Please don't die on our watch."
Can't have that on my channel, bro.
Yeah. I feel like that's a solid YouTube strike, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
We could
Yeah.
we'd have to cut it out from the Patreon one. That's the only place it could be.
I get it. But I'm just saying, I have that weird thing about me. They don't know what it is.
yeah.
Like,
Well, let me
but
ask
I
you
also,
this.
the problem is I don't have that thing to stop me either. I don't
Right.
have that voice saying, "You need to stop doing this."
Right.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What does the future look like for Kevin?
Right now, my goal is to get my hips replaced. That's the main thing. It is such a painful thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I want to go hunting. Like, that's one of my goals is I want to go hog hunting, and I want to go deer hunting, and I want to go turkey hunting.
Fuck yeah.
I can't do those things until my hips get replaced, but I can't get my hips replaced until these other things take shape and happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's when then that also goes back to stoicism, that I can't control when my surgery happens.
Yep.
I'm doing everything I was told to do. I've lost the weight. I've stopped smoking. I'm getting my my eating and my exercise routines down so I'm as healthy as possible. But it's still, I can't make the doctors do it.
Yeah.
So I have to use stoicism to go, it's out of my hands. They're in control. I just control what I can do.
Yep.
So first step is get my hips replaced, because it affects every aspect of my life. Like I
Yeah.
said, I sleep 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
Like, that's why people are like, "How do you get up at 4 a.m.?" I'm like, first of all, I get up because I don't want to,
Yeah.
because I want to sleep in. My body's just like, "Hey, stop. We want to sleep." But I force myself to do these things because it helps with my discipline. But that's the first thing. Then I'm going to get into hunting, and we're expanding our business. Right after my hips get replaced, I already have the tools into power washing and stuff. We're going to be doing house washing and driveways and all that, and decks, because where I live, there is a ton of Airbnbs, like a ton of them.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend's going to continue on that aspect of the Airbnb management. We're getting ready to hire a couple people so that we can take over all of Twainhart eventually. Like, I'm that ambitious now. Like, hey, what can we do to take it over? Like, there's new fire ordinance that got put in by the county. So we're literally going around and doing them for different Airbnbs just to get in the door so we can get the contract to manage it for them.
Yeah.
So we're that ambitious. But then I'm also moving into the power washing. And at this point, I just want to live my life and help people. That's it. Like, I know what it's like to be the criminal who's constantly having to check my phone and, all right, do I have orders? What do I have to go do? You know, I only recently started having my guns around me, like, because of what's going on in our country, I feel I need to have a gun around me now. I spent about 6 years not being around guns that much. I was around them when I was a criminal, and I left that life. And now that I'm moving back into feeling like I need to have one on me, it's like a weird I'm in this weird transition period. But now I'm starting to think like I just want to live my life in peace. I quite literally, I want to help people understand because I know, like I said, I've talked to guys who are telling me, dude, I'm depressed. I don't know what to do with my life. Well, find a purpose, find something to do. You know, I did all the talk therapy stuff. Never worked for me ever. I just got more and more depressed. Went farther and farther into my darkness. And then it's when I realized I need something to do. I need a purpose, some goal to go after. So then we started the business, and it was like, hey, you have something to accomplish. And every day, what I want to do is help people. That's it. I may not ever make $1 million from it. I don't care. I don't care if I make a penny. My bills are covered. That's what I care about. I don't care about having super nice stuff. If I can pay my bills and take my girl out to dinner once a week, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And take over a
That
small
also-
town.
Yes.
That's the Marcus
That
Aurelius.
also-
Really, the emperor is out.
Yes, that comes from Epictetus, where he says your desire, freedom does not come from accomplishing your desires. It comes from having less of them. I don't need all this fancy stuff. My freedom is I just need a good book, my girlfriend, some weed at the end of the day. Just chill out. I don't need a bunch of crap. I don't need the even though I do have a nice car. It's a badass lifted Subaru, but
Yeah.
I have a nice car. People see it to this day. People are like, "Did you lift a freaking Subaru?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." Right? Cool.
We actually have quite a bit of that around here.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I was going to call you a
We didn't
lesbian
have
for a
any
second,
around
but
here.
we've already covered that territory.
Yeah, but that's all that's really what my future is, building my businesses and hopefully helping as many people as I can. Everything else, I don't want there to be a man, I'm trying not to get emotional with this, but I don't want to ever hear a story of one of my male friends killing himself and leaving his child behind, and knowing that I could have told him, because I had that happen. So I forgot to mention this. In September of 2020, before my overdose, one of the things that actually led me to do the drug too, there was a story of a father who kidnapped his son here in California. His name was Stephen Weir, and he went and took his son, and they found him 5 days later. He had shot his son and then himself. Stephen Weir was my best friend growing up, like
Nice.
my best friend. We spent so much time together. Like, we were church kids. He went to the same church as I did. So we'd go out into his family had property. We'd go out and shoot guns and do all kinds of fun stuff. And then when he killed his own son and himself, and then I immediately, like a week later, had my drug overdose too, that contributed to me going, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Now my best friend just killed his own son, shot him in the head. No more. I just want to help. Because if I would have been clean, I got mad at myself, honestly. Because if I would have stayed clean after my father died and everything, I might have been in a position to help him. I might have been able to guide him through it, because he was losing custody of his kid and stuff, which I do understand, because I have older siblings who were on drugs and lost their kids as well. But I got angry with me, and it kind of just solidified, I've got to make a change, because I could have been there for him, and I wasn't. I still feel guilty about that, but at the same time, I couldn't control that,
Yeah. No, I feel like that's a good motivation to always kind of stay on the top of your game at that point. But realistically, you were in no position to help anybody,
Right.
And there's no use in beating yourself up about that, and for eternity at that point, which you could do. But
I was still battling my own issues. So
yeah,
Right.
exactly. Well, Kevin, I gotta say, man, I mean, everything that we see you do on the internet is 1,000,000% inspiring. This is 10 times that. This has been fantastic. Every part of your story is just unbelievable seems like the wrong word to use, but it's just absolutely insane. And I know for a fact that you're going to continue down this path, and you are going to continue to keep helping people's lives and making people's lives better just by carrying this forward. I'm fucking proud.
And that's all I want to do.
I'm so proud to even know you.
Yeah. Can I ask a favor of you two gentlemen, please? Spread the triangle. Use the hashtag. Tell your friends about it, because you never know what someone's going through, especially men. We're trained from the moment we're born to not open up, to not let anybody know your problems. You figure it out. Just figure it the fuck out. Yep. Man up. I'm getting ready, hopefully soon, to have stickers made of the triangle. I got a graphic designer that did our company logo for my cleaning and management company, so I'm going to have them design it as well. And I'm going to start having stickers, and I'm going to just start sticking them everywhere. I'm going to mail them out to people. Just that concept of just try. You're going to fail. Who gives a shit? Try again tomorrow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And just please spread it as much as you can to anybody who will listen.
Man. It speaks to everything that the show is about. And so we will preach that.
And plus, it's easy to start. It's not a just do it that's like intense. You got to do it. It's no, just try.
Just try.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, knowing the concept that you just laid out, that's exactly, why we started doing this other show, is to where there's a severe lack in just the opportunity or the space for men to feel comfortable expressing themselves and not feeling judged. It says something that, not too much, but it says something that conversation between three men, you got emotional, and every time you're like, sorry, I don't want to get emotional. Doesn't matter. And that's not, I'm not shitting on you or anything like that, but it's totally about the structure that we're just existing in now, that because of that, you feel the subconscious need to apologize for like getting emotional when you're talking about your fucking friends dying or you overdosing or like being raped. Like these are all totally legitimate reasons to fucking cry, and so it's backwards that as men we are existing in a culture or a society, a social structure like that, and so that is part of the whole reason that we're here, is to try and break through that and provide an opportunity, a space where people can have conversations and be emotional and be honest, so that other people, just like you and I did a ton, because I identify, especially like our relationship with our moms or experiences with our moms, very, very similar, very similar, and I've not met very many people who I can like kind of be on the same level with that with. So
I can introduce you to a bunch of people who have mothers like that. I have all kinds of friends. If you need any hookups, I got you.
Yeah, so that speaks to exactly the point of the show, is just putting stories out there for people to listen to and hear and be able to identify and see they can try from a different angle, they can succeed, they can make it through that, they can handle this, and it will be okay when they're done, you know?
Yeah, and you can be a strong, manly, masculine dude and be openly emotional and vulnerable without being like a soy boy cuck.
Yeah.
That's not, that's what our society has essentially taught us these days. And we just need to bottle it up, shut up, and do the thing, when you could still be the fucking badass brawny man and actually have emotions too, that you're not afraid to let other people know about.
Well, that's one of the things we need to teach men to do, especially young boys growing up, is I can never pronounce the word right, so forgive me, but compartmentalize our lives, our mind. You've got to be able to go, right now I need to be a savage, now I need to be a saint.
Yes.
You need to be able to hold your child in one moment and beat the shit out of somebody else in the next. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've been taught that there's something wrong with having that duality, that there's something toxic about it. It's like, no. You try to hurt my niece or nephew or my girlfriend, you're going to see me, that part of me that I had been killing over the last 10 years, or 7 years, he's going to come back. And you ain't going to like him, because I don't like him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And if I don't like him, you won't. But if at the same time, when a girlfriend's struggling or anything, I'm there to help her. I'll massage her feet and stuff and be gentle and kind and protective.
Right.
And it's okay. Men just need to understand that. If you're going through that, if you're going through pain, it's okay. If you're going through joy, it's okay. But you're a human being.
It's all a balance. It's all a balance, and especially, masculinity and femininity individually, and then for them to work together, it's all a balance. They have to work together and be balanced for any of it to make sense and work cohesively. If you're not balanced in who you are as a person and as a man, and your wife, your girlfriend, is not balanced in who she is as a woman, there's no way you guys can be balanced as a couple, as a unit, because you are battling within yourselves, and that will battle, in the middle. So that balance thing is super, super important.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks again for doing this. I hope you had a good time. This was
Thank
amazing.
you guys.
I'm very much looking forward to when we can do this again.
Yes.
There's
I'm so
much more
sorry.
to
I
talk
said
about.
guys. I assumed your gender. I apologize.
God damn it, Kevin.
And you live in California.
You should know better.
All right, man. Well,
anyways,
it was great to see you, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Kevin.
Later.
Later, brother.